Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. My name is Emma, and I've got Austin with me. And today we're going to be talking about the role that AI should be playing within the insurance industry. But before I get to all the questions that I've got for you, Austin, can you give everybody an introduction?
Sure, happy to. My name is Austin Renfroe. I'm the CEO of Renfroe. We are one of the largest providers of outsourced claim services and technology solutions for the insurance industry. We've been doing that for the last 30 years, and we've responded to every major disaster in the United States since 1994. My background is originally in engineering and law. I studied AI and cryptography and also math. And then I went to law school, studied intellectual property law in the US, Ireland, and Japan before falling into insurance. Fell in love with it, and I've been here ever since. I've been working in Renfroe for 15 years and absolutely love it. It's rare that you are able to find an industry like ours in insurance where you can make such a direct impact on people's lives when they need it the most. And so I feel very fortunate to be in this industry.
So your background of like AI, cryptography, law, multiple languages, then insurance is quite the journey. And I know you mentioned that like it's rare to find kind of this nice fit within insurance, but I'd love to pick your brain a little bit more on how insurance hooked you and why you think it is like truly so vital.
Yeah, happy to do that. So I love being an engineer. I love solving problems, and law is very similar. You're issue spotting. You're looking to figure out, what the problem is, and a lot of it's negotiation too. There's, two people that are frustrated with one another, and your goal is to hopefully find a solution for both of them. But insurance is special because you are really the safety net for people. You are really kind of the underpinning of the economy. It's if you didn't have insurance, then if your house got wiped out or your business got wiped out, that would be it. And so I think it's amazing that we have this industry that can stand people back up after something terrible happens to them and put them on their feet. And that's what's got me so hooked. And what we're excited about at Renfroe is to find a way to improve that experience and to constantly be iterating on ways to make insurance better for our clients and for their clients, their policyholders.
So part of how you guys are starting to do this is maybe diversifying what your typical products and services look like, and kind of moving maybe from a little bit more of like the old school role within the industry to some of like really driving innovation. So can you talk a little bit about maybe what your core product suite looks like and where you guys are taking the organization?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. So, we have, as I mentioned, provided, assistance in every major disaster in the United States for the last 30 years. And this industry has typically been very heavily workforce based. And I think it will always continue to be so. But we're in a really interesting period where technology has advanced to the level where I think we can really bring about some major change in the insurance industry. And that will waterfall down to the policyholders. That will waterfall down to businesses and individuals impacted by disasters. And it couldn't come at a better time. We see a lot going on with climate change. We see a lot going on with the economy. There's a lot of threats out there to individuals and businesses. And so I think we need to find a better and more efficient way to operate. And I think technology is going to allow us to do that. So, at the same time, I know, and obviously we're going to talk about it more in a minute with AI, but, AI and technology are going to give us this amazing chance to recenter the human to be able to perform work that they want to be able to do, as opposed to menial paperwork or busy work. They're going to be able to interact with people in a way that they have not previously been able to do. One of my biggest frustrations as an attorney was, I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to help people, because I wanted to interact with people every day. And what I found is that being a lawyer was a lot more, drudgery than I expected. And I'm sure that a lot of people who get in this industry find the same thing. And it would be amazing if we can automate away a lot of that drudgery so that the people who join this industry are able to do that human to human work that they joined up to do.
I want to come to, like, you mentioned this menial work and like helping to remove those parts of the process. And for anybody that's ever listened to me like talk about like what I think my tech trends are for the year and where I think our focus should be going, I'm going to purposely keep bringing up what my predictions were so that they become a thing. But one of the things that I talked about early on was this idea of total experience, because one of the problems that I see within the insurance industry is that we're often so focused on the customer experience that sometimes we forget about the employees that are doing the work day in and day out. And so I am very optimistic that AI gives us the opportunity to actually look at total experience within the industry. And I'd love to hear from your perspective how AI is going to help us not only support the customer, but also the employee. And I think you kind of already started to tease that a little bit.
Yeah, happy to do that. So, I'll take a step back for a minute and let's look at a company that I think it all ends up being a workflow issue. And so let's look at a company that's figured that out, or at least a lot better than I think we have. So let's look at Amazon. A lot of people shop on Amazon. And if you go on Amazon and you want to buy an iPhone, then, you pull up their website, you click on the add to cart, you click on purchase, you've got your information saved. And then 24 hours, 48 hours later, it just shows up at your door. And you have no idea how that happened. It is basically magic. And we're all so used to this that we don't even think about it. But when it first started happening, it seemed like magic. And that's how Amazon won that battle. And it's just incredibly good workflow and logistics that they were able to do that. But behind the scenes, not visible to you and me, there are thousands of different processes running, and there's tons of different people and businesses involved in making that happen. So that's a well-running workflow that you, the end user, have no idea what's going on behind the curtain. A poorly running workflow, which is a lot of insurance, is where you, the end user, have every idea of what's going on. All of the actors involved, every step of the process, and it's not magical at all. And in fact, you're probably having to get involved in a lot of it. And so what I believe that technology and AI is going to be able to do is going to be able to bring a lot of that magic to insurance. And what I find so interesting about where we are in insurance now is no one's trying to do a bad job. I was on a flight with someone and she asked me, what industry I was in. And I said insurance. And invariably, this happens when I bring that up. She's like, oh my God, I hate my insurance carrier and insurance is so frustrating. And, that's so disappointing to hear, right? Because what we do in this industry, we do good work. And nobody that I know who's involved in this industry is ever trying to do a bad job. It's just that the system is broken. And even today, we have the technology to make it better. And so when I was up presenting in ITC Japan about this, the point that I made is it's not a technology problem, and it's not even a people problem. It's an integration problem. We have a bunch of siloed groups that are performing bits of the workflow, and they're not talking very well to each other. And so I think if we are able to do a better job integrating all the pieces of the workflow together into one seamless process, then it will become magic. And then people will feel taken care of, because you don't buy insurance so that you are the project manager on top of every claim that happens to you. You buy insurance for peace of mind. You buy insurance so that you know that when something bad happens and a hurricane hits and you lose your house, or even you get into a fender bender, that somebody's got your back and that it's taken care of for you. And particularly if it's something catastrophic, the last thing that you want to do is be managing a couple of adjusters and be talking to your carrier and be talking to, some outsourced provider who's taking photos. Like, you don't want to be doing that. You just want to make a call, or ideally just get a push notification and then just know that somebody's going to handle it for you. And that's what we're building at Renfroe. And that's what we hope to help carriers do.
We are on the heels of ITI, and you had the opportunity to sit down with some folks from CSAA and Swiss Re and kind of chat through all sorts of different things. But can you tell us the biggest takeaway? Because I've got to imagine there's probably something tied to AI in there with everybody's conversations at ITI kind of surrounding it. So can you share a little bit about that before we take a break for today?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I think there's a lot of confusion around what is AI, and there's also a lot of fear around AI. Every startup that's involved in AI has got some point solution that solves some tiny problem, but they are selling it as, the next best thing since sliced bread. Like, this will solve every single problem. And it's not going to do that. And that's not the way to sell it. What you need to do is you need to find a very clear problem and solve it completely. And you need to do it in a seamless way that's very, very easy for your, purchaser to integrate into their workflow. And then what I see a lot of startups trying to do is they offer a solution that requires a full rip out and replace. And that's really difficult when you're an insurance carrier and you're running a giant organization. You just can't do that. And so you need to start small, and you need to have very clear, concrete ROI for what you can provide. The other thing too is you have to be incredibly transparent about what your AI is and what it does. I think half the people at ITI didn't understand the difference between generative AI and non-generative AI. There is a difference between the two. So you have to have people in your organization who understand what you're selling and can explain it very, very clearly to the people that are interested in it. For us, one of the things that we built and that we've rolled out is a product called Claim Sentinel. And what Claim Sentinel does, we realized that there's a big issue with QAing claims in the insurance industry, where most claims aren't even QA'd. And the ones that are QA'd, it's a very subjective process. It's very slow and it's hard to scale. And that gets even more complicated as we walk in right now to a 41-year historic hurricane season. Well, we've built a platform that automatically QAs all claims so that we can guarantee on the other end 100% of the claims that we handle are completely accurate. That's something that cannot be performed right now. And that doesn't require a full rip out and replace of the entire claims workflow for carriers. It's got a very, very clear ROI that we can show to people. But you have to really, really define that use case for carriers. Otherwise, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it ends up just being a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think the only other thing that maybe I want to touch on is, fear around integration of AI. And I understand that, there's been fear around every single piece of technology that we've ever integrated into our organization. I was around when we first started using computers to handle claims. And there was a lot of resistance to it. People were afraid it was going to take their jobs, and what we found is that it actually not only allowed people to do a better job and made their jobs easier, but it allowed them to talk to the policyholder. It allowed them to do the thing that they wanted to do when they first joined the industry. And I think that that's what's going to happen not only with Claim Sentinel, but also with AI in general, is it's going to get rid of the work that people really don't want to do. And it's going to glue together the pieces to make people's jobs easier and to help them better talk to the policyholder and to provide a better experience for everybody. So I'm really, really excited to see what happens in the next couple of years with that.
It's almost like I paid you to say that, because one of my conversations that I have all the time is that AI isn't going to steal your job, but it's going to change it. And a lot of those things are exactly what I preach on a regular basis. So I'm glad to hear, especially for somebody with the background that you do, that we're preaching the same things. But I really appreciate you joining me for the conversation, Austin. And for anybody that's watching, thank you for joining us. If you're not already, get connected with Austin and reach out to either one of us if you've got any questions about the conversation. But with that, thank you again and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Leading Change. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe and come back weekly for more expert interviews on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.